Good evening, everyone. I'm Lucy Handley from the Ridgefield Library, and tonight's program was created and is moderated by Barb Jennes, the Poet Laureate Emerita of Ridgefield. Welcome, Barb.
Oh, thank you, Lucy, and thank you, everyone. This is great. We have a huge audience tonight. Thank you so much for coming. Um, Unmuted. Oh, there we go. I'm back unmuted again. Wonderful way to get your mind off of things. We have five amazing poets, and you're going to really enjoy the diversity and the quality. So welcome, welcome. I wanted to just briefly, before we get started this evening, let you know about our lineup for March, which will be March 5th. Hold on, if I can find my nice flyer so I can share it with you. Hold on a second. All right, here we go. I think. Hold on. There we go. Okay. So in March, we have five, again, we each month, for people who are new here, each month we have a poet from each of the four regions of Connecticut, and then a fifth from the Central Hartford area. So in March, we have Melissa Buckheit, who's a wonderful poet from the Northeast region. She's also a dancer and choreographer and translator. So she'll be joining us. Donna Dish, the new poet laureate of Westport, she's here this evening, will also be a reader. Joan Kunsch, who's a wonderful dancer and ballet instructor, classical ballet, she's here this evening. Hi, Joan. Michael Peterson, also known as Chief, an amazing spoken word poet, will be joining us, and so will John Pielaski, who is from the Southeast region and has a collection coming out very soon. So I hope you'll join us. I'm sure you'll receive word. If you don't, if you're not on our email blast list and would like to be on it for future notification, you can just email me, Barb Jennes. My name's on the screen there, Barb Jennes at ridgefield.com. No, Barb Jennes at gmail.com. Likewise, if you would like to be a poet, a featured poet, email me. We'll get you on the roster. We're definitely recharging our roster now. We've been through almost 2.5 years of programs, so over 100 poets. So it's great to have new voices join us. So please email me if you would like to be added to the roster for future readings. All right, so then let's get ready for this evening's reading. And then what I do always is I read a very brief biography, and then I'll post a longer version in the chat so you can see the names of the poets' publications and more about their background. So take a moment to read those too as they come online. All right, so tonight we're beginning with Angela Siew, who is a multilingual poet who has received fellowship support from Kenyon Review, Sewanee's, I always pronounce that wrong, Sewanee Writers Conference, Community of Writers, and others, many others. And she's widely published and teaches poetry online. So please welcome Angela.
Everyone, can you all hear me okay? Thank you so much, Barb, for organizing, Lucy and the library for hosting us, and all of y'all for coming. And I'm really excited to hear the other readers tonight as well. I'm going to read 6 poems tonight. I'm going to start with the title poem of a full-length collection that I'm currently submitting out. Premonitions of a Girl at the Witching Hour. 1. If you break a mirror, bury the shards beneath a tree under a full moon, or burn and grind them into a fine powder. Float the fragments down a southerly flowing stream. The Romans believed a broken mirror held a trapped soul. 2. The night before my 21st birthday, the cabinet door fell off its hinges, a dead drop, shattering in my parents' bathroom sink. I peered down at their angles, at a face half slathered with cold cream, scented with powder. In that bathroom, I smoked often, with ceremony, incense, and music, in front of a mirror that filled the wall like a tapestry. After the first hits, I welcomed the strangeness of my reflection, clenching to hold a body together, which threatened to stall and stop, find itself on its side in bed, staring at March on the wall. She opened her mouth and said hi, unhinged to let in the start of days, before the sinking of afternoons, the day's light and moments easy. The girl I saw was hollow, a collapsed star. 3. On the eve of my 30th birthday, I waited at the witching hour for spirits to arrive. And they did. They sat on my bed, laid down casually on the carpet. Some betrayed me, whispered lies about my family. Some were gracious, bringing secret thoughts. I looked for my grandfather, the one in the photo with the open mouth laugh, lifting me in the air before the stomach cancer. I imagined what he would say to me. Listen to your parents, to which I would respond, but I know better. By then, the spirits had left, already bored. He sat with me while I told him a vision of witches burying a mirror deep under grandfather roots against an egg-shaped moon, before I was born, before my brother learned to covet, before I became my mother's heart and my father's worry, and how those pieces, because they couldn't be burned, were floated in a basket down a southerly flowing stream. The next poem I want to share is an abecedarian, but which is typically a poem with each line starting with like a letter of the alphabet in sequence. But I changed it. And I have a little note, which I'll try to summarize at the bottom. So there's something called Bapa Mofa, which is like a notation, like a learning device for Mandarin Chinese. That's usually used in Taiwan. And when I went to Chinese school, I typically speak Cantonese at home, so I was trying to learn Mandarin. They used Bapa Mofa to try to teach us Mandarin, and it didn't really work for me. That stuck in my head. But anyway, that forms the backbone of this abecedarian. Bapa Mofa abecedarian as list of important relationship terms. And this will be in a mix of Cantonese and English. Bois, boyfriend, buoyancy, ole, glass, stained glass, bird, lie, soil, falling through my hands, lie, come, don't come, he didn't come, all die, rolling and rolling until it loses momentum. Bong Curry, help him, for how long? Pua, perplexity of perpetuity. Pua, is it my mother or me waiting for children? Die, fall down, to trip on something unseen. Moi, moi, touch, muk, wood, mok guaifa, rose. I drown the roots, the crown of petals, yellowed, stricken. Mok guai, wooden cabinet, doors from floor to ceiling to store treasure. Hok guai, very expensive. What is the cost? Why? Ghost. Our failures, a haunting. Sup mai, shrink or recede. Silence, yours. Fall. Ho fuk hei, good fortune to be together. Fall guan, fire boiling, i.e. rage. Not to be confused with water boiling, readiness. Fuk do, the character for happiness, placed upside down on a front door, can instead chase it away. Fong dai, to drop off, a person or an object, to let go. Fong sung, to loosen, something that is too tight, to release.
Mhm.
I'm going to read 4 more poems. So you can kind of see it with my virtual background, but this is a chapbook, my first ever kind of book that came out in June.
Yay.
Okay, and this poem takes place in Hong Kong. Temple Street Night Market. One fortune teller says someone could walk around with a gun, shooting into the air, and the bullets would not strike a living soul. Another says she invited a man with no money to sit and talk, and he just cried. I look up their tools: palmistry, fortune stick drawing, the bird method. My hands are closest, so I shine a light on my cupped palm, turning left to right. Relieved to know I have some deep-etched lines, I determine I have an earth hand, though I'd much rather have an air or water hand. My head and lifeline begin together, indicating a highly sensitive disposition. The fate line never crosses the heart line, centimeters away from the mount of the sun. I probe the strength of the mounts and planes, squeezing the thready bones of the back of my hand. I tire of all the possibilities, projecting my desires onto this self-made future. Instead of reading guides, I should be drafting my own treatment plans. A list of 10 things I learned from and love about my father, reasons why I should forgive my parents, ways I could be nicer to my lover, mantras absolving regret that I could learn to believe. I remember that it is late and I've almost forgotten to wish my dad a happy Father's Day. Walking with him in the dimly lit streets of Hong Kong, the first and only time we visited, I asked him why everyone was staring at me. He looked down at my trendy, colorful Chinese slippers and told me they weren't meant to be worn out of the house. Another poem about my father. A letter to my father after open heart surgery. 1. I wasn't yet 5, laying across you, pressing my uncoiled ear to your chest, black algae for hair, unswept, unbraided, listening to your heartbeat, checking to see if it matched mine. I pushed into the scar from your appendix, raised, pretty and pink, ridges ringing the outside. When I asked if it hurt, you said they took something you didn't need. 2. The last time we walked together, after supper, after dusk, you corrected me, told me I was almost good enough, instilled self-doubt as my protection against an unforgiving world. I imagined your shadow outlined in white, jade, immature against the skin, and wondered if the spaces between us, guarded by your crisp words, my cutting tongue, would find patience in old age. And I remembered the last time, the only time you ever said I was beautiful. I was becoming more and more beautiful every day. 3. Your scar has become the end of the incision running down your chest, a zipper holding in a heart with an irregular beat. I see your frame whittling away, an apple core slowly over-ripening to the air, smoke rising from the tips of incense, the agarwood burning in front of your body as I bow and ask, Dear God, am I your creation or a reflection of you? Two more short poems, and thank you for listening. This is about my grandfather. It's an elegy. The embalmer. When I close my eyes, I am the one preparing my grandfather, moving beside his body, hands gloved in the scent of latex. I am a priest chanting psalms, swinging urns of incense, flour, and musk. I stretch out his arms and legs, rub away the rigor mortis. I part his open lips, plying a tongue inside, swollen like a blackberry, and I become a Buddhist wailing, releasing a soul protected into the afterlife. I prepare the formalin to fill his veins, as he lies in his cedar coffin. I tuck in his lips, stitch them shut. An anomalous thing. I rest my cheek against the empty wine glass, its pattern a mosaic. Along the top, a moving wave of pink sea, the color beginning to flake and peel off. I press my lips to the rim in a pucker. How far away you are, and silent. How forgetful I am. How hopeful to believe. Thank you so much, everyone.
Oh, thank you, Angela. Wonderful. The poem, the elegy for your grandfather was just stunning. Wow. By the way, folks, if you would like to, I know I saw a couple of comments. If you'd like to put comments in the chat for each of the poets, it's always nice after you or while you read, but mostly after, to see what people have said about your work. So feel free to chat away. Okay, thanks again, Angela. Okay, next we have Shauna T. Melton. She's a poet, painter, art educator, and teaching artist. She's the author of Unraveling My Thoughts and founder of the Writers Group with Shauna T. Melton, one of the most diverse writing groups in Connecticut. So welcome, Shauna. If you weren't aware, Shauna is our fill-in. Had her booked for later in the season, but we one of our poets was unable to attend tonight, so I moved her up in the schedule, and we're glad to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Hi, everybody. It's lovely to see all of you. So I'm going to mix with a few new poems that are not in my book, as well as poems that are. And my book is called Unraveling My Thoughts, as mentioned. The art on the cover is my own. And if you want to look into more of my work, my website is where my name is, shaunatmelton.com. And you can go from there to follow me on all social media. I'm just going to start. This is yet to be titled. This is a short piece, but I thought it complemented the one that follows. Women are archaeologists of other women's spirits. We dig for core characteristics that we can drape across our bodies proudly while saying, I saw her do that, feel that, say this. And it feels like me, like I would, like I should be all of me, that I can see survive being set free unapologetically. An ode to queens. I wrote this poem a few years ago, and what I wanted to say when I started that I should say now is one of the members of my group, Karen, I've been doing my writing group since about 2005. And from the day that I started all the way up until she transitioned about 2 years ago, she was at every single one. And today is her birthday. So happy heavenly birthday, Karen. And I'm reading this definitely and for all women, but specifically in memory of her. An ode to queens. We greet one another with offerings of love. We call each other sisters, acknowledging the light that beams through our spirit and into this connection. There is praise in our welcoming. People stop and stare at the sound rejoicing from our lips, and we unapologetically bask in it. Is a Black girl, woman, elder proverb. It means there is injustice here. It means watch out because there might be injustice everywhere. If someone doesn't fix it, Jesus, it means they are trifling. It means watch out. It means I see you. We call and begin again like our conversation was never complete. Girl is a Black girl, woman, elder proverb. It means hello. It means listen. It means it was crazy and I can't wait to tell you. It means what a shame. It means I am devastated. It means I am delighted. It means I need you right now. We want to see each other happy, getting all the kisses, support, attention, and joy that our heart desires. We know that it is hard to mend the cracks, but not impossible. We remind the other that there is life after loss, life after defeat. We remind the other that we only need ourselves to exist as ourselves, and all else is a compliment. So what of mourning the living? And the sisters who beam from up high, when the phone no longer rings or has an answer, when the passenger seat is empty, when she no longer checks to see if you are all right, when the greetings are silent and the stare is loud, when we reach for silhouettes and it feels like the flame burned out. Whatever is a Black girl, woman, elder proverb. It means not today, Satan. It means we aren't going to deal with hurt feelings right now. It means there is an expiration date on my indifference. It means this too shall pass. Please, I hope so. It has to. Over time, we convince ourselves that our love has a capacity, that being in love is reserved for lovers, but nobody we truly love has the basic version of our hearts. Our hearts are not made to be basic. There is no shame in needing her and wanting to tell her first, and feeling like family is more than blood and genes, but also a choice and commitment. It is a responsibility. It is always wanting her to beam in your direction as you return the light. There's power in sisters. We illuminate the days that can feel like dark nights. We illuminate the ways our work takes us to new heights. We are who gather the love offerings, tuck them behind the other's ear, making our sister see how beautiful she is when paralleled with nature. We depart with offerings of love. Sister, a Black girl, woman, elder proverb. The offering breath. It means freedom. It means not having to alter who we are. It means we can be loved to the bone. It means I've got your back. It means you've got mine too. It means I love you. It means I love you. It means I love you. This piece is called If a Woman Falls. If a woman falls, if the core of the earth was a heart, the wail of a woman would cause it to shatter. The stretch of her arms into hope would crack limbs. Her fall to the surface would cause earthquakes. Her tears would compete with oceans. Maybe we're just not thirsty enough to care. What if scabs were the only gift and skin didn't grow back? Would drying up be enough? Would we journey with the same confidence? Would we become less clumsy in the name of saving ourselves if a woman falls in a community? Does anybody hear? Does the sound of her bones hitting the earth cause someone to look? Will they miss the grace of her stature? Wrinkles in her skin, brown in her eyes, crinkle of her hair, voice over her children, hands mixing some truth. Women are structured with spirits and bodies that bend to make room for lovers, families, babies, ideas, feelings, and other human necessities. It is when we splinter that someone should worry. When our voices sound like glass breaking on metal floors and our brows bend in concern, when we have no idea how to surrender to the reality that there are things we cannot change and we may lack the humility to recognize it, she bends. How many harsh words fill a spirit? Is there a time limit on invisibility, on only being seen when palms hold offerings that nurture others into their selves? Who hugs her humanity without ulterior motives? She breathes in so you can breathe out, bleeds so you can be flesh, and only asks for respect, some rain and sun for survival. She is not perfect, often harsh, loud, and demanding, preoccupied with the idea of being broken, yet still prepared to sway through storms that come while cracking under the intensity of sunsets, S-O-N sets. Don't wait until sunset to thank her. When her hands are no longer steady enough to part your hair, pull you close, clean the debris, cut and feed you nourishment. wrap you in her inhale, exhale for calm when she is overwhelmed by the many voices speaking her name in unison. When her life passes before her eyes, make sure there are fewer memories of your back turned, because God hears it when a woman falls and recognizes the ones who were always listening for her heartbeats. I have two more pieces. I think I have time. Okay. A flame. I don't really need to be the flame in the darkness, the source of light through the somber, the guide, or what sustains us until the sun reveals itself. I really don't need to see the bright side or the half full glass or be at the mercy of someone's hot breath when they are ready to rest. I am ignited and they turn me to smoke. I don't really need to keep the entire room glowing so everybody relies on me to shine when they could bring flames too. Let it be more than just me. Let it be a menorah, a vigil, a string of lights, so I don't have to exist so hard. Don't have to shine straight into a face in search of something redeeming. So I am not as vulnerable to a shift in the wind, so that I don't have to be a memorial to myself. I actually have two poems. Shut me down when you're ready, Barb. This is fun. So there's this story by Shel Silverstein called The Giving Tree, and there's two sides to this story. Some people see it as the very generous, loving offerings of God to humanity, and other people, like myself, think that boy needed some boundaries. And and so this poem is in light of that. So sorry if you're on the God side. It's called A Response to the Giving Tree. People love taking, convinced everything worth having is for them. On the day this boy arrived, using her to feel like royalty, turning her leaves into a crown, claiming the forest as his own, she should have been curious. Centuries of rings should have held the wisdom, the foresight, the muscle memory to straighten your legs when boys try to take your apples. He never had the chance to drop her cores, let him hide in and lock him in her branches, watched him sleep and shifted her leaves, giving the sun a chance to master her burn. The boy loved the tree. The abandonment kind of love. Too big for these branches he'll never climb. If the tree was a Black woman, she would have summoned his mother, peeled back a switch and told her to keep that child off her trunk. She would have summoned the ancestors to transform him into a tree, told the woodpeckers it was time for a drum circle, let him gentrify Bantu knots for a moment, call them honeycombs, summon the bees, demand the queen leaves his honey behind, swaft the scent toward the bears. Wait, still need money, boy? I'll gather up all the oxygen I've given you and you can sell it and be happy. She'd have given him the branches that held the noose to build his house, free her of her scars, let the spirits have retribution, and the tree could be happy. Come, boy, she'd whisper, and he'd stay away, and she'd be happy, and she'd never be a stump. She'd changed with the seasons, sway with the storms. She'd drop her apples when she felt like it, shed in the winter to keep her soul warm, bloom in the spring and bask at her true form. Never let a boy take the beauty that she sheds. Think he can climb up her trunk without falling on his head. She would give what she could afford and keep enough to thrive. The tree would grow and grow and grow and stay alive, and she would be happy, really. My last poem is, I teach, which you would not know from that last poem, Kenyon nonviolence. um, and so we talk about beloved community, and that's all people, no matter if they're in your house, in your city, in your state, in your global community. The word beloved is to be loved. So this is beloved Bridgeport community. Puzzled land, gated by the rich, hiding industries that filtered its way into the world, weapons that won wars now used in mass shootings, curious if they were ever meant for self-harm. Curious about how harm is justified, human on human crime, crumbling remains, speaking truth to power about how weapons form do not prosper, they destroy. It is not always the villains destroyed, but we seek history and remains, asking what was left that can warrant martyrdom. Can blood be saved to preserve humanity? A pocket for dreamers. Letting the shores carry them into northern promises, hope blooms in special places with a different face on the same hate, but different hold space for change, ignored hold space for freedom, discovered hold space for theft and war. There is work here, money here. Money is opportunity until there is abandonment everywhere, and those with their backs turned point and laugh and ask, why are you there? In hope, in this pocket full of failure, full of dreams. We will tell you of a Park City, of the Underground Railroad and Blacks free during slavery, the circus, the necessity of sanctuary cities, diversity, the many tongues that you need to know to serve our community, the fundraiser after the robbery, the fellowship after the funeral, the art woven throughout the tapestry, the inspiration for poetry. We can tell you of offering all that you have, yet never having enough. All of the efforts to dress up get torn down, about staying in the fight because we reimagined our city generations ago, because the praise is a holy one, the dance is a mighty one, and the love of family is an unbreakable one. Humans are not crumbling buildings, won't be left behind. Know that sowing into land can feed a family, and some recipes stay at home. Flavor is only nostalgic when you grow up tasting and smelling them. That streets you know are most desired in places that are unfamiliar. People who have been pulled from their familiar know too well the importance of the back of your hand, even if it's with the luxury of leaving and returning to connect to the blood that was preserved, because environments sustain lives, sustain environments, and all land, all people hold value, hold space, hold dreams.
Hip, hip. Beautiful. Oh my gosh. Yeah, you have a lot of comments in the chat. Wonderful. What a wonderful selection, a very diverse selection. So thank you, Shauna. Wonderful. And again, the name of your collection, so people maybe will order it.
Unraveling My Thoughts.
Excellent. Thank
It's
you.
on Amazon, and if you go to my website, the poetry page has the link.
Excellent. All right.
Thank you.
Well, this was amazing. Okay, so we still have three amazing poets ahead of us this evening. So next up, we have Ed Lent, and you're going to love this guy. Ed Lent, the inaugural poet laureate of Madison, is a visual artist and lifetime educator. We have a lot of artists here this evening. Shauna is also an artist. He finances and directs the Ekphrastic Poetry Trust, which he founded in 2024. Lent received a CT Arts Hero Award in 2020, and you may know his work, by his pen name, Ezra Lovecroft. So please welcome Ed Lent.
Thank you. Thank you, Barb. Thank you, everybody. Great, great. You gotta love poets. I guess you can hear me okay. So I actually thank you to the Ridgefield Library. They just do such great stuff, and this is a wonderful program. Tonight is kind of a sample of all us poets, so I'm just going to send everybody to my website, which is www.ealentartistpoet.com. I'll put it in the text, but that way you can learn more about stuff that I'm doing in Guilford, Madison, and if you're nearby, jump in. Okay, I'm going to start because I've got a lot of omelets of poems here. This poem is an ekphrastic poem based on one of my paintings by the same title. It's called Rainy Day Samurai Sake on the Bullet Train to Kyoto. Hang on tight. Walking like a crab, I step sideways to avoid the runoff rounding the curb. Suddenly, my umbrella punches another. Cold spray slaps my face. It tastes like dirty metal. My foot submerges into a lake of a puddle. My foot pulls up and ripples appear. A foil label swims by a button, a torn gum wrapper, a drowned weed. The neon sign is reflected on the surface. It wiggles. I arrive at the train and shape myself into a seat. Glossy girls in plastic ponchos squeeze past me as I squirm to sit. Later, I get 2 hot sakis to stay warm. The illustration of a samurai on the label has an octopus on his head as a helmet. Rain splats on the windows. A blurry landscape whizzes by at 120 miles an hour. I am in an aquarium, and distant flashing streetlights make me think it's feeding time or something is getting close to my tank. I'm tired, wet, and the seat is too small. I tip my head back, close my eyes, and sleep. I dream. I will be a giant squid by the time we reach Tokyo. No one can stop me. Next poem is another poem based on another painting I did. Thank you. It's called Catching My Reflection in the Window at Bergdorf's. It is the place of dreams under glass, a reality from another wonderland. Alice's in $10,000 dresses, Mad Hatters in Tom Ford tuxedos, going to a midnight party at the penthouse of Aladdin on New Year's Eve. You can ride an ostrich to a tea party. The forest is covered in tiny mirror tiles. Typewriters can fly. People pass behind me. We are all just shadows and glimmers, stuck in a world of noisy skies, of dirty air. They remind me how thick the glass really is. Yet I stare in for just a few seconds more, imagining the secret password is on the tip of my brightly polished sterling silver tongue. This next poem is called On Plein Air. Thank you. On Plein Air. I approach the oracle, climb chiseled steps that deliver me to a circular rock terrace. 2 legs for the artist, 2 legs for the easel. I approach the back of a large canvas that creates an even bigger black shadow that unites them on the stony ground into some winged mythological creature. The fiery sun stretches the shadow elongation to lead me closer. A satyr stands before me, a smudge of paint where he scratched an itch on his left shoulder, looks like a Greek letter lambda. He chooses blue, creates the sky from it. Next, his spatula stabs 2 tones of green, then titanium white, a tip of yellow. With a smear, he turns red into pink. Blobs of color become a rough meadow of grasses, lilies, roses, sprawling out into the distance. I turn, squint slightly to see into the distance. I see his meadow, his muse. Ah, yes, there it is, but his is better, because I'm in the silence of it all. Some roses are vigorously conducted to climb the fence, next to a honeysuckle blooming in coral, edged with vibrant orange. This energy comes from his being. This creation is witness to his mind's eye. He has mirrored reality before him into a translation of paradise on a flat linen square. One, a beautiful reflection of the other, a demigod wedged between the two. Culinary Award. Once cooking class ended, I would always delay so that I would be the last. This entitled me to be crowned as the last one turns off the lights and locks the door, please, leader. I turned the lights off, but locked the door from the inside, making my way by exit lights to the trash where the freshly baked bread test recipe would be. Today, a fluffy focaccia, foil and all, went into my backpack. James Beard, a large blue jay, Julia Child, the soft taupe mourning dove, and Jacques Pepin, a fancy nuthatch, would soon delight in the crisp, oily crust and Malden salt crunch, the soft King Arthur flower center. Alain Ducasse, beware. In this park, these birds chirp a claim for me. They scream and cheer, praise Michelin stars. I'm going to do one more. I've got about three more. I think I'm okay. Thank you. This one is called Please Hold. We've all been on Please Hold. Please hold. Then grating jazz music while I'm in the queue made my thoughts while on hold an emotional stew. Remembering the window in my grandmother's kitchen, looking up and wondering if a cloud had religion. Seeing them huge, soft white against blue. Why did I call her grandmother, but others called her Sue? Their heads held high in arrogant dignity, they pass without looking, as if in mutiny. Thinly, then thickly, heading in no particular direction, the music stops. I wake. I'm holding a letter threatening collection. Around the heavens the planets swirl, affecting life which each turn and twirl. We might think we'll last forever, but there's a bigger plan for our endeavor. To pay a bill or find my balance isn't the best use of my time or my talents. I cursed at the operator when she returned, but soon, sorry I said it. Being fair about it all, it's the wind that deserves the credit. Whoops, I'm on this. I'm gonna read from my published poems. Um, and I don't know where I am on time. I'm just gonna keep going. Just get me the hook. Anyway, no, I do. Fatal Attraction of Gravity. Water, leaves, apples, even rust and dust get pulled down from cloud, roof, or tree. Sorcerer with invisible power, brother to magnetism, sister to attraction, witchcraft or magic perhaps. Faceless master just the same, hasn't stopped or taken a day off since the beginning. Birds and planes measure it. A plant growing must stack cell upon cell to reach up. Nature makes it look easy, yet mountains, the sea, and their plunging icebergs, dying whales, glittering pirate treasures, and burning galleons get pulled down, down, down to the dark depths, resting lastly on silent ocean floors. Change from my pocket spewing everywhere, first a knee, then a hand, elbow, and rump. The unseen, unleveled garden path brick has humbled me. Down, down, down so quick, I flash, actually, a crack of a whip in time. I know my master's hand. I had forgotten the brutal, powerless stumble and reach for unsympathetic air. I stand, no floor for my pride. I only bow in jest to this crown, gravity tested once again. And my last poem is I don't know about other poets, but I dream in words. So when I dream, I have all these words flying around and they're great poems. And then I wake up and they're gone. So this poem is called To Hold On To. There are poems that knock at my door early, very early in the morning hours when the world is still shadow, before there is color. That solid, soft knock, 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 knock. I hear that sound a few times. I wake and give into it. There comes a whisper with just a few words. Some I can't hear, so I'm still and breathless. Still, the words are often lost or forgotten, but I recall their shadows. They stand there by themselves, cold and shaking. They are dark, deep, thought provoking, and each almost a full sentence, or a title even. They resonate, mean something important I should know. When I open the door, they silently pass by and walk down the hall, or sometimes up the stair, tread by tread, heavy and thick, word by word, until I am chanting with them and holding on to each in fragile straw baskets left out in the rain too often. There are holes in the bottom. The handles, so soft and strong, deceived me. The dry, woven willow squeaks and creaks. The fruits were picked, repeated, positioned, memorized, never to be forgotten. So many, so perfect, so brilliant, so brilliant. I grab at them now, taking leaves with fruit, dropping one off after another in the basket of memory. They slipped out silently from that rotted out bottom. They scattered everywhere. By morning, after a night of opening doors and gathering perfect words, in baskets filled to the brim, too heavy to lift with tired arms, I see that they are empty. Still, lined up as they were on the step that night, damp with dew, I remember nothing of the words I plucked, like juicy berries at their peak, apples so sweet, crisp pears fat and polished. All gone. I am empty, blank, wordless and undecided. I am in bed with muddy feet, and not a word can I taste. Thank you.
Wonderful. Oh my gosh.
Assortment.
I gotta tell you, I have dreams about poems too, and I always in my dreams say, "Oh, let me just email that to myself so I won't forget." So in my dream, I email it to myself, which I guess Mr. Musk is going to make possible for us in the not too distant future. But anyway, thank you, Ed. Really delightful selection. Yeah, yeah, The Fatal Attraction of Gravity was my favorite, I think. All right. Okay, so moving on now, we're going to have our next reader. Hold on, I got to pull up the bio. Okay, Sharon Chard. And Sharon, if I mispronounced your last name, please correct me.
No, it's Chard, that's correct.
Chard, oh, good. Sharon Chard practiced family therapy for 25 years as a licensed professional counselor and has led writing groups for women since 1992. She's published 7 collections of poetry. Most recently, The Glass is Already Broken in 2021. And she has a new collection, What's After Making Love, that will be published in 2025. Please read Sharon's biography in the chat. There's much more to her story, including working with a residential treatment facility, teaching poetry to adjudicated young women. So very fascinating background. So welcome, Sharon.
Thank you. Thanks everybody for being here, especially to the friends whose faces I see here. I especially appreciate you tonight. And I have 14 minutes. I have about a dozen poems and I time them and they're just about 14 minutes. So I'm not going to comment on any of them except to say the first batch is from my upcoming book, What's After Making Love, and the second batch, about the second half, are all new poems. And the first one I chose to speak to what's happening right now in our world. It's called Hostage. I've been feeling peeled like a fruit that needed a sharp knife, ripped like the final gash in old cloth already frayed, whispering in the dark for soothing from something I'm not ready to call God. The world is breaking and I'm breaking with it. White men in black suits making hell on earth. I thought I'd seen the end of that, what man can do to man, woman, to woman. Auschwitz, Birkenau, the killing fields, bones and teeth on gritty paths, mounds of shoes and suitcases, Cyclone cans, type lists, numbered photographs. Shouldn't it all be history? I'm too angry for metaphors, too scared for rhyme. Savage, unmothered earth we live on now. I want to have a bottom line, a limit to what I can bear, a scream that says enough, a key to tenderness. The things I carry. 2 fragments of bone in a blue leatherette folder, the ticket stub from the Red Sox game I went to with my son, 3 packs of Kleenex, the letter that said I am nothing and will only become more nothing, the Roman morgue, the steps down to the Tiber. I carry the room I shared with my sister and the St. Anthony statue on our turquoise bureau. Hundreds of rosaries and novenas, canasta games with Diane Amadon, Patty Turner's driveway. I carry hair gels and sprays and volumizing shampoo, one husband, 2 wedding rings, an extra thong, Chinese herbs, and always Advil. I carry intensity, though I don't want to, and fear, though it's wearing a raincoat and you can't see it. I carry pounds of bracelets and a chocolate bar, jeans that don't fit, uncertainty and potential. I carry drama, though my husband says love is not drama. It doesn't seem quite right without it. I don't carry peace, although I should. I carry the memory of my little boys at the table drying in our first house, the sun shining on their hair as they bent over their pads, a fall day, pie in the oven, stew on the stove. I carry the glass half full, 5 black labs, the sure knowledge of my death, metal in my lower back, questions with no answers. I carry apples, every luscious bite. For the longest time, I was only interested in love, how it owns you, slices you open, throws you away, then corrals you into its comfortable space. Comfortable fence, excuse me. The boy I loved first didn't love me. And it's a good thing because I heard from our old teacher that he killed himself a few years ago. I think the problem was maybe I was raised without tenderness. So what I looked for was more like suffering, mistaking wounds for salve. The hard stories made sense to me. But then there was you. And I didn't know what to do with all that kindness, how to trust its soft safety, how to return it. Still wishing for a voice like the one on my phone saying, turn left, turn right. You have arrived at your final destination. Wife. I'm not very good at loving you, uncivilized over the morning eggs, indifferent to your newly risen kohlrabi and kale, greedy for what you can't give me, forgetting to be grateful for all you do. Brutal happiness, my friend Glenn said about marriage. Maybe she meant you get the worst of me, my tired cargo of regrets and rewindings, but that I still remember your skin is tender. We hold the history of grief and living, the silver and turquoise ring you put under my pillow that night, the twisted gold at the bottom of my Christmas stocking. The boys our bodies made, one gray-haired now, one dead, all 5 of our black labs dancing at the plaza, building the barn. Your fixed heart, my mended back. I broke a date with a nice guy to say yes to you that first time. You told me later if I'd said no, you would have given me a second chance. There is always a wolf. After they empty you from your morgue box, a dark-suited guard arrives. Only one point of light in that room, starch white sheet that swaddles you. When your father dares move the sheet to see what? How broken you were from the fall. The guard banishes its hand. I've never fathomed what put him there, why we said nothing. Not, this is our son, Vatana. His bones and skin belong to us. There is always a wolf. We held each other in that shadowy temple. I have called so many things love, and now this. Casualty. Enough of blackbirds, bluebirds, sparrows, the pricey seeds my husband fills feeders with. Enough of the squirrels and mice that eats them instead. Enough of falling in love and out of what got us here, what will get us elsewhere. Enough of his leg, my back, lost friends, lost minds. Enough of me, poor me, the dead mother, the never enough girl. Our country, 'tis of thee, purple mountains and fruited plains, graphs and shootings, rising seas and men in suits, stupid hope, confines of the body, murkiness of the soul, forecasts of snow, detachment and prognosis, the night between us, the absence of you. Imaginary vacation. Here, I don't remember Rome's gritty air, my dead son's red bandana wrapped around my wrist, or the waiter who said when he saw it, "Senora, do you have a wound?" And how I said, "Yes, I do." I don't remember stuffing Jeff's big blue comforter into Livio's Fiat before we left, or the purple ribbon on the flowers we laid at the altar at San Giorgio in Villabro, the priest who spoke English, nor Susanna's cigarette smoke as she drove us to the morgue. I only feel warm sun on my much younger body, while my black lab runs down the beach as I doze. I go skinny dipping at night in the ocean, drink Negronis, sleep late and read novels all day without worry about being unproductive. I don't think a bit about the drive to Newport to meet the gravestone carver or the kids sobbing in my backyard after the funeral. And I also don't think about the other son who is always leaving, the tears he never sees. No, I only feel the ocean breeze. Eat cake for breakfast. Wait. Can this marriage be saved? And the epigraph is, I think that a lot of girls and young women have this yearning that is part desire to have a man and part desire to be him, by Rebecca Solnit. Light comes and goes in the story of us. Out here in Wyoming, the deer are different, and I don't know the names of the birds, but I do know I am happy without you. This landscape forgives me my sins, too huge for them to matter, though someone has hung skulls on the cottonwoods path by the creek I walk by every day. But soon I will return to our bed and the dog, the Amazon packages, the dead dahlias. We've been assigned to each other. You said marriage was a one-way ticket with no transfers. Remember? That throng of fantasies we shared, a plunder. You try to teach me mortal lessons. I walk ahead of you, believing I have no need of salvation. But when I can't open a jar or figure out why my car won't start, I immediately imagine what life would be like as a widow. Things seem so singular out here, but then I see sheep flocked, birds charging each other in the wide sky. Think how necessary it is to belong somewhere, how I belong to you. Rough air. There will be some rough air, the pilot warns as we return from Denver, where we've been to another old friend's funeral. Rough air seems all I know these days in the bumpy and battering sky of my senescence. Why did I think I was done with terror? This morning, Sheila says, every age has its issues. I smile and act like I agree, but inside I know mine are worse. The infidelity of my bones brings my small body its daily plate of pain, splinters the strength I've always relied on. What will carry me through my remaining years if not this sturdy envelope, no matter the tissue skin thin from which it's made? Who will walk me to the altar of the next place when the groom I've always known, is gone? Buen Camino. How was I to know, walking the pilgrim trail, what this pilgrim was walking towards? Your near death growing as I moved my feet miles each day. Even you had no idea. How could you have? As they hauled you blank-eyed into the van, then to the hospital in Santiago where no one spoke our language. Every test except the one that would have told us what was wrong. And then at the Prado, pathogens spraying your brain again. But we went to the Michelin dinner, ate fish, drank wine, laughed in the taxi. Maybe we beat this thing, ignorant that the bacteria persisted with their feasting on your heart. It was like the moment before ice meets your foot, the moment before you can't swerve from the oncoming car, the one where you're in the exit row when the door flies off the plane. Like the moment before I'll know I'm going to have to live without you. The cost of living. Now that we sometimes stumble, remember to do this lists every day. Know the coming years will take our lives. Yes, it's high. So weird to think of not being here, of not having Frank and Carol to dinner, feeding the dog, arranging peonies in the vase Kathy gave us for our 70th. Sometimes the news is so bad, I don't care that I'll be dead. The world gone to worse hell than it already has. But I know I'll want to survive, even if I can no longer go to yoga class, walk all the way to Ormine and back. We've been everywhere, except to see the lions and giraffes. That trip's coming soon if we can manage to stay alive until September. People say age is just a number, but they're not paying the price. We will be nothing soon. I love when you say, I love you.
Wonderful.
60th anniversary. And the epigraph is, to love is a frightening thing, Natalie Goldberg. Have we done our jobs as bride and groom? I fear we ate the cake too soon, though we saved the frosting. Sometimes I tell you I feel like an actor in a play, or maybe a packet of seeds. We grew two, lost one, almost lost us. I try to keep my chakras open, but God does give you more than you can handle. I thought I could gather fire, make a pilgrimage out of it, but there were times I needed anesthesia. You know, the other night in the motel, they yelled, emergency, emergency, everyone outside, times like that. We threw out the book they gave us, wrote our own. When your heart broke a second time, I stayed outside until they called me. You were so small in that room. We're tattooed on each other now. No exit. It's time to eat that frosting. And here's the last poem. Mine. I'm better at being alone in the world, this older me, untethered from what was, what comes next. I don't have to try to be terrific. I'm not important. I've got a puppy and a husband and a house, flowers in a garden, books on a shelf. A small life suits me. The sadness is mostly done, though my dead son is never far. I've spent too much time thinking thoughts I was ashamed of, the buzzing wire of what I wanted burning. It felt right to be wrong. The other night I danced for hours, didn't care if dinner was cooked or the towels folded. Maybe tomorrow the puppy will pee in the house, a hard rain will knock down the lilies. The sister who doesn't love me will write another nasty letter. The friend with cancer will die. There is no neat ending, but whenever it comes, it's mine. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh. And these were primarily poems from What's After Making Love, Sharon?
About half of them, and then the other half, or maybe the last third, are just new poems I've written this year.
Oh, just
I've got it from a chapbook that I'm sending out called Rough Air.
Oh, yeah, Rough Air. That's a great name. Wonderful. I loved Imaginary Vacation. Oh my gosh, you broke my heart with that one. So
Thank you.
wonderful,
That's
wonderful.
one of my favorites.
Okay, well, we have one more wonderful poet this evening. I could do this all night because I I don't want to watch the news. But
Don't
anyway.
watch it.
Okay, next we have Edwina Trentham, who is a Professor Emerita of English at Asnuntuck Community College, where she founded the poetry journal Freshwater. A Yaddo fellow, Yaddo fellow, sorry. She's the author of Stumbling into the Light. Her poems are widely published. So please welcome Edwina. Hi, Edwina.
Hi. Okay, so. All right. I'm going to read tonight two forms, two different forms. I'm a great lover of form. And the first one I'm going to read is a canzone. And if people don't know what it is, it's a very intricate form. It's 5 12-line stanzas and then a 5-line envoy. And there are no rhymes. There are just repeated words. And there's only 5 words that are repeated. So they're repeated quite a lot. And I love it because you can just sort of climb into a canzone and live there. I love when I'm working on canzone. And then I'm going to read some sonnets, which is what I've been writing for the last year. I apparently am not writing canzones anymore. But anyway, and by the way, all these poets, my God, you are so wonderful. You just blew me away. Thank you. I love being in a place where people love poetry. So this is a canzone, and it's called, oh, and by the way, I just wanted to say about sonnets that Diane Seuss describes sonnets perfectly. She said, the sonnet, like poverty, teaches you what you can do without. Okay, keeping the stargazer safe, ruminations on the plague. Determined to keep my stargazer's glory safe, I ruminate in odd moments, inventing new ways to hold marauders at bay, make sure leaves are safe from the ravages of orange beetles, keep blossoms safe from deer, drawn by heady fragrance in the morning air. My plan includes rapid sheet at night, a form of safekeeping where I function as some kind of crazed savior, an image offered to a friend when I didn't take the time to proofread our bleak form of sending love in this time of plague, tapping into a void because we are not safe for each other, must huddle alone, swallow our need to touch, oh God, to touch what needs, for who knows how long to be untouchable, needs to hide behind scraps of don't come near, I'm not safe fabric. Only our eyes, our yearning eyes, saying, I need to hold you, beloved friend, sister, son, and oh, I need to know we will touch again, that some way, I'll brush a wisp of hair from your quirked eyebrow, need more than an image of reaching for your hand. This need is visceral, an ache in the belly, a rain-drenched morning when the sun scowls in scrims of gray, deepest mourning for lost chances, tumbles of cruelty, hope, needlessly quenched by misunderstanding. Remember our needs in the past? I need to be alone. I need a little time to myself. I need to pull back for now. As if time were bottomless, as if we could drink from a cup of time forever, let its cool endlessness quench our every need. I used to dangle my feet off the dock as a child, when time was a cloud billowing the blue overhead, when time was a seagull lost in flight, in light, when time promised safety, cradled me when I slipped into the warm sea. Now, time slides away. like the thin-toothed moray eel that time I stopped near an inlet, a shift in still water on my way to school. Sure, the green shimmer was beauty, the way we do when we are young, an underwater plant that time had sent to the surface. Only when the spill of morning light gave me its rotting smile did I fall back. Mornings now recall such horror, since who can say what morning will bring? Bring out your dead, howls from earlier times. I try not to read the news, but it's my life each morning, scattered on the tiny screen that has replaced the morning paper, the one I used to drive down and pick up. No need to fear another human being in the small store. Morning, we would call out as we brushed shoulders. Morning. Unimaginable now, as I shuffle through my new safe rituals, measuring, mixing foul deer and bug juices, safe for the earth, spraying the stargazer 3 mornings a week, and later, as light falls, draping a sheet this way, that way, looping it from shepherd's hooks, backing away. Early mornings, I walk the labyrinth, trying a new way to soothe myself with birds caroling in the morning, raucous and sweet, murmur and shriek. And halfway up the first path, I sit on a mossy stone, watch the sway of trees against the sky, and stay perfectly still. Let time be as slippery as it likes. All I have to do is find a way to crush fear, avoid those I most long to see, push away threats to everything I love. I am giving up the need for control, I tell myself. I know. But we all need to play some games to stumble through this. Keep away the marauders, repeat the impossible promise of safety to our beloveds, ourselves. I, for one, didn't think saving ourselves from the plague would become our main safety concern. But the stargazer, ghost in the garden, is my way of keeping terror in check, preparing for next morning. A rapid sheet at night that says we have nothing but time for solace reminds me that time is all we really need. Okay, so the next series is a series of sonnets that I've been writing, and they start, the first one is from February 2024. Late Winter Amaryllis. In the pocket of shadow behind my wicker rocking chair, I find the wispy pink of last year's amaryllis blooming in the darkness. I have tried all the tricks for making these glorious plants flower a second time, but until this day have only been offered sturdy blades of leaves. I lean, pick up the pot, carry 5 rosy frilled bells streaked with pale green and white to the kitchen window, place them in a flood of sunlight. All day, I have been trying not to hear the latest Gaza news of the woman who fell asleep after nursing her infant twins, woke to find them dead between her and her dead husband from the bomb that crushed their house, somehow leaving her alive to suffer unbearable grief forever. Instead, I decide to sit beside the perfect amaryllis, try to take in its brief blaze of beauty. Grass. This is from April 2024. I am walking up the hill through the overgrown grass to visit my neglected garden. 4 years since I have touched it. First, because the plague insisted we give up everything that offered joy. Then the persistence of grief snatched away time and the easy delights of our lives. So my garden has turned to a snarl, a glut of hairy red brambles reaching out to snatch, tear, whatever dares to wander near, has plunged roots tough and twisted deep into once rich earth. I kneel, trying to recall the tang of marigolds on my fingers, a tomato's sweet weight in my hand, the scent of basil cut back to keep it from bolting, trying to care. But all I can hear, all I can see, are parents in Gaza feeding their children grass. Silence. It's from August 2024. Silence. During the year of the plague, I would stand outside, listening to complete silence. From houses beyond the woods, streets nearby, tilting my head, not to see wisps trailing a plain's far thunder, but because I knew nothing was there but blue and the plaintive circling of a hawk. Early on Sundays, I would wait for no one to start mowers, no one to howl back and forth for hours while we sat trying to bless the morning. Even now, 4 years gone, some days are still full of silence, recalling that long year of solitude when we would all drive down lonely roads, waving at perfect strangers. This is from October, fall. I have never been a lover of fall, never rejoiced in the glories of brilliant leaves, pale arc of cloud-scattered sky. Much prefer the hot, dark blue of late summer's curve high above the dusty trees. But this sun-drenched October morning, I settle on the deck, feet propped on a railing, and decide to give fall a chance. Tilt my closed eyes to the light, allow cool wind to play in my hair. But of course, he is waiting behind my eyelids, that 7-year-old in Gaza, his face smudged by the tumble of stone and dust where his parents just died, who says when he is asked again why he keeps opening and closing his eyes, it's because he does not want to forget what his mother and father look like. This is for my darling Greg. Greg had a stroke almost 3 years ago, and he's well on the way to being himself again. But this is something we do together. Singing in the car. I'm not sure who began it, but I think it was you, suddenly suggesting we row, row, row our boats gently down the stream. And when we were finished, I took us on the road, side by side, without a barrel of money, and then assured you that I love you a bushel and a peck, and you agreed, even humoring me by singing the doodle-oodle-doo-doo chorus. So now, this is how we pass the time on trips to countless appointments, with me adding different songs, and you gamely taking them on. Even that old Sam Cooke song, which seems to have very few words except, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, repeated over and over and over. This is from December. Gaza, December 2024. Today, I read about a father clutching his 21-week-old twin boy to his chest, running to the one hospital still standing, screaming, I tried to save you, my son. I begged for blankets. Of course, by the time he staggered to the door, the infant's face was white like snow. The other twin, dead too, in a makeshift tent of worn sheets. It seems the children of Gaza have slipped our minds these days. Maybe it's the shock of so many choosing 4 years of madness. But the children are still there, sick from hunger, still sprawled in shatters beneath rubbled houses. And winter? Winter has always been on its way to freeze them to death, one by one by one. And this is my last one. This is also from December. At least for now. Mired in melancholy, hope snatched away, I creep through mid-December's darkening days, seeking the smallest reasons for joy. A plump squirrel scratching for water in the frozen bird bath, tail fluffed into a feather boa. A cardinal's wings scarlet against scatters of snow on black sunflower seeds. And early this morning, sun sifting into the bedroom, lighting on you briefly as you leaned forward, lifted yourself to your feet, stood steadying yourself for a moment before your careful walk down the hall, me right behind you, just in case. And this last, that brief, bright spill of sunlight onto your beloved shoulder, pulled me out of despair, at least for now, at least for now. Thank you very much.
Beautiful, Edwina. If you check the chat, we all agree we could listen to you all night. And that, as Ed said, you could read the phone book and we'd listen. Beautiful. Yes, the poems are beautiful. Your presentation is beautiful. Thank you so much. Those Gaza poems really spoke to, as you'll see in the chat, so many people. So thank you. And thank you, Lucy Hanley at Ridgefield Library. Thank you, Ridgefield Library, for hosting us. Thank you, everyone, for coming. We had a record attendance this evening, so, and it's wonderful to see so many people. Tell your friends, March 5th, we have another great lineup. So, good night from me. Lucy, you have any last words? Oh, you're on mute, sweet thing.
There, on my laptop, it doesn't work. Thank you so much, Barb, for this wonderful series, and thank you, poets. That was a very moving night.
Yes, yes.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Be well. Stay away from the news.
Thank
Yes.
you. Beautiful
Thank
work,
you.
everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Wonderful.